Due to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
Introducing from Atlantic City, New Jersey, weighing in at 210 pounds, your Italian hero, Joey Image!
Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to the podcast. This is your favorite Italian and your favorite wrestler and your favorite Jersey guy. I am Joey Image, aka That Image Guy, and welcome to episode 27. And a little bit late this week, I had some crap happen at the house, at the Image compound, but all has been fixed, repaired, corrected, whatever you want to call it, and we're all good now. And if you heard my last couple podcasts, you know that I feel like I say the word way too much, and I already said it. We're not even 30, 40 seconds into this podcast, and I've already said once. Jesus Christmas, and that's gotta stop eventually. Let me see. So how the hell are you, everybody? How the freaking crap are you doing? So, what happened this week? Let me tell you about the adventures of my house. I've got a radiator in my bedroom. So, first of all, there's no, there's no insulation in the roof of my house. So, the way it was explained to me by someone I know that's in heating and air conditioning, he explained, and I don't know how true this is, it sounded like it made sense to me. This guy Chris I know from New Jersey, sounded like it made sense to me. I have no idea. I just took him at his word because his father owns a heating and air conditioning company, so I assume this made sense. But the insulation that goes into the roof of your house is the walls, wherever it goes. I think it's in the roof or some shit. I don't know. But that's supposed to absorb the heat, disperse it evenly amongst the rooms, I guess. Even the rooms with the radiators in it. So what happened was there is no insulation in this house, in the roof of the house I live in. So it just goes everywhere. The heat everywhere. It's insanely hot. And I'm talking about hot like I have my air conditioner on in December. I mean, I realize this past December, 2015, was not very cold at all. And it was 70 degrees on Christmas Day, for Christ's sake. But just as an example, I have my air conditioner on in December. Which, if you've been in New Jersey the past week or two, you know the temperature's finally going down. I say finally only because I don't like the cold, but I kind of think it's cool and it should be cold in like the winter months. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't even know why I care. Again, I don't like the cold. But it's been anywhere from like 7 degrees to like 35, 40. So it's been pretty chilly here. So even in those temperatures, I still have the air conditioner on because in this bedroom, in the upstairs of the house I live in, it is insanely hot. And I don't know why. So finally, what happened was the radiator that's in my bedroom, it shoots out steam. See, all right, first of all, here's the deal. The furnace in the basement of this house, maybe some of you plumbers or, heating air conditioning guys can help me out with this and let me know what the hell I'm doing wrong or what I'm talking about. But the furnace in my house has had to be filled a few times recently, filled with water, the hot water heater, whatever you call it, has had to have been filled within the last couple of weeks, maybe the last month, 6 weeks maybe. A few times, maybe once every other week or so, because it's just the water level so low. And that never happened before. So apparently what happened is the radiator in the bedroom that I'm in, that I live in, it didn't have a valve on the side of it. So all the water was going from the hot water heater into that radiator because that's the furthest point in the house from the hot water heater. So all the water would go into there, and it would get expelled through the hole or the connection, the hookup where the vent should have been, and it would just go out into the air into this bedroom. And it was steam, super amazingly hot, and very, very loud. Like, this thing was spitting out steam like bullets. I mean, loud, super loud. And it would keep me up to the point where it would keep me up at night if I wasn't already asleep. And if I was asleep, it would wake me up at night. Very annoying, amazingly annoying. And to the point where I would have to sleep on the opposite side of the bed, so I was away from the radiator, and then I would put the air conditioner on, or I would just leave the windows open, which, on nights where it's very cold, the windows open were okay, but I would always have to sleep right in front of them when this happened because the radiator was so fucked up. But anyway, plumber came by yesterday, fixed the radiator, let me know what was going on, put a valve on it, fixed the, the water issue, the furnace, the steam thing, or whatever's going on. So now it's all good. That was yesterday afternoon. The guy was here. So last night, overnight, it was fine, no problems. I mean, it's still hot in here, but that's just because the heat is on in the house. Not overly hot because there's steam all over the place. So it actually worked out nicely. Finally, I mean, it's been like that for years. It just never gotten that bad before. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. So all is well now in the Image household, and I hope all is well in all your households as well. I appreciate you downloading and listening to the podcast every week. We are, right now, we are at episode number 27. We were doing, I was doing one a week. That will continue, but like I said, just this week was a little bit late. Had some issues going on at the house and, couldn't get this done in time. I like to have this recorded and released by Wednesday night if possible, if not Thursday. Just couldn't happen this week. But you know what? We're all good. We're back in action, and we're coming at you right now live. We, meaning me. I'm not gonna make this a long show because I've got a very short one coming up next week, so I'm gonna try to cut these down to 20, 30 minutes. I say that all the time, but then I end up going 45 to an hour. So when I say not long, I mean about 20, 30 minutes. Next week, I'm doing a very special episode. Only one topic, The Old Boys. If you ever heard of that movie, it is a brand new documentary about professional wrestling. Brand new meaning it came out within the last, I think it was within the last month or two. But I will say the last 6 months it came out. Within 6 months it came out. And I was thankfully granted free access to check it out and to watch it. Not live, but like streaming. So I was given a free password to the website by the guys that created the movie. And I'm going to check it out. I'm going to do a review of it next week, a review podcast. I will check it out. I'll probably watch it this weekend. And you will like that review, I'm hoping. I'm hoping the guys that made the movie like the review also. Because I'm pretty sure I'll like anything professional wrestling that's old school, not like, a documentary on like, what's going on in 2015 or 2016. No, this is old school. I mean, geez, on the cover are guys like Roddy Piper, the Iron Sheik, and Greg the Hammer Valentine, Coco Beware. So guys from that era when I grew up, and that was what was on TV every Saturday and Sunday, and even Monday nights when Monday night was not called Raw, when it was called Primetime Wrestling. Those are the guys that I watched. That's the wrestling that I grew up on. So I'm just assuming I'm going to love this movie. So you will all get to check out that review next week. And if you haven't seen the movie yourself, or if you haven't heard of it, go to theoldboysmovie.com. And also check them out on Twitter at theoldboysmovie. Definitely a recommendation. I mean, as I said, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure I'm going to love it just based on the time frame that those guys are from, those guys from the movie are from. So I'm sure I'm going to like it. And again, if you haven't seen or haven't heard of it, check it out. Definitely going to be worth your while, worth your time to watch, as well as worth your money to buy the DVD or Blu-ray. So look for that next week. I'm not sure what the hell day that's going to drop, but I'm hoping for early in the week, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday as normal. But again, life sometimes dictates, that I can't do this when I want to. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But tonight, I want to talk about two events I went to recently that were super, super awesome and very special to me. For the geeks and nerds, the first one of those being Video Games Live. Now, if you don't know what Video Games Live is, and I'm sure I'm actually surprised that there's some people that don't know what that is, considering it's been around like 14 years. But basically, it is a symphony orchestra that plays video game music. So I had their set list written down, but I missed it. I don't know what, misplaced it, I should say, excuse me. I don't know what the hell I did with it, but I do remember some of the stuff that they played. For example, they'll come out, the guy that runs it, Tommy something or other, he comes out and he does, not a monologue, but I guess, almost like stand-up. Like he comes out and kind of tells a couple of jokes about video games and about the show and about how it got started and blah, blah. So not really monologues, not really stand-up, but I guess like I say not a monologue because he talks to his conductor and he introduces the girl that sings some of the lyrics and stuff. So it's not really him by himself. It's more of a presentation, put it that way, explanation presentation, which I like that phrase. I'm going to copyright the hashtag explanation presentation. And he comes out and says, hey, we started this show, 14 years ago, and there were 1,200 people that showed up the first show, and people told me that there was going to be zero and that nobody cares about video game music enough to actually buy a ticket to go see other people perform it, and blah, blah, blah. And it was really cool, and just the whole history of how it happened. So he tells that, and then in between songs, he'll come out and say, well, this is a song that we did on this CD that came out, in this year, and it's from this game. Or he'll come out and say, hey, we did this song on our third album called Video Games Live Level 3, but we're not going to tell you what it is. You're going to have to guess. And then they'll play a song, and then afterwards they'll come out and say, so who knows what that's from? People in the front will yell, oh, Taco Bell, or, India, or, it's from Midget Wrestling on Thursday nights at 2 p.m. And he'll go, yes, you're right. It's from Ninja Gaiden, or whatever game it's from. And it's really cool, very, very interactive, super, super cool deal. So we went there. I got the tickets as a gift from my girlfriend for Christmas. It was January 2nd, so I actually went before the last podcast I did, and I just forgot to talk about it on last week's episode. So here I am talking about it right now. So Christmas, of course, was the 25th, so this was only a week later. I didn't even know the show was taking place. I didn't know anything about it. I knew that they were touring, and the only tour dates I had seen were November, December, that were like on the West Coast and a little bit in the Midwest. So I didn't have any idea. Of course, common sense would dictate that they start at the West Coast, then they move a little bit east, and they gravitate to the Midwest, and then they move a little bit more east, and then they come to the East Coast. But I just didn't think that far ahead. So I was amazingly surprised. One of the coolest, most thoughtful, and unique gifts I've ever gotten. I say unique because I've been a video game player or fan for 4 million years. And what's unique about this is basically the experience. It's literally, first of all, I've never been to like a symphony orchestra. This was a big orchestra with a big choir in the back. I've never been to anything like it. It's really never interested me until Video Games Live until I became aware of Video Games Live. It was really cool. So anyway, long story short, we get in there, we sat down. It was at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center in Newark, New Jersey, which my girlfriend and I have been to, I think, twice now. Once to see Russell Peters and once for Russell Peters. So we've only been there once. So this was our second time there. We've got a third time coming up in March when we go to see Gilbert Gottfried on, I think, March 11th. And Gilbert Gottfried is one of the greatest comedians ever. He's hilarious. He's dirty. He's funny. He's weird. It's great. And if you've ever heard, I know a lot of people hate his voice, but if you go to YouTube and do Gilbert Gottfried real voice on Howard Stern's show, you'll hear him speak in his real voice. It's amazingly, it's so crazy different. It's like, I don't know. It's just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a different person, obviously. And a lot of people think that his voice is his actual voice, but it's not. It's an act. It's part of his, Gilbert Gottfried comedian character, I guess, or his comedy gimmick is, the best way to describe it. But his real voice is just a regular guy. They play, he talks about some voicemail he left for Gary Baba Booey on that YouTube video, and it's just a short clip, maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes or something like that. And it's just him calling up, hey Gary, it's Gilbert. Let me know when you need me on tomorrow and what time it should be at the studio and blah blah. And it was just like that. And it wasn't like the typical Gilbert Gottfried, which my Gilbert Gottfried impression is horrendous. So I'm not going to do it for you because it's awful. And I don't want you guys to turn off right now because you hear that. I want you to stick around and listen to the rest of the show. So anyway, short story long, that was our second time at the this venue. Great venue. They I don't remember what they opened with. I don't remember what Video Games Live started with. Like I said, I had the set list written down. I was ready to talk about it here, and I did it on my phone in the Notepad app, and I guess I deleted it because now I don't know where it is. So, it was Super Mario Brothers. They played, the original from the original game for NES. There was a group called the Triforce Quartet who played the Super Mario Brothers. So, they're a part of Video Games Live, the tour, but they're not on the albums, CDs, or whatever. Because they are their own separate entity. They do the same thing, but they do it all on violins, which is super cool. So, saw them. They played, like I said, the Super Mario Bros. Theme song. They played Castlevania, a medley of every Castlevania game all put together. And then these are I'm just going to list a bunch of the songs that we saw performed that night. Not necessarily in any order, and I don't even remember which was before intermission and which was after. but they just did so much cool stuff. If you ever get a chance to check out Video Games Live, absolutely recommend it. Really, really one of the greatest shows, one of the greatest live performances for a geek slash gamer slash nerd slash techie guy. One of the greatest musical experiences that you will ever, I don't even want to just say musical, I want to say one of the greatest performing experiences that you will ever have, and one of the greatest performances ever recorded on film. Definitely worth your money and your time. So they played those, Super Mario, Castlevania. They played a bunch of Final Fantasy stuff. They did the theme song from Final Fantasy VII, which is like the most popular Final Fantasy version there is. It's being remade for the PS4, I think, this year in 2016. So they played those. They played what the hell is that lawyer game? I don't remember the name of it now, but it was like a 3DS game, I think, and maybe it's old school. It's like a Japanese anime game. It's about a lawyer. I'm gonna remember it in 2 minutes. I know it. But they played that. They played They played Kingdom Hearts, which is really cool because my girlfriend loves that game. So they played that. They played the attorney, the lawyer game, Phoenix Wright. They played that, and there's a whole bunch of different versions of it. I think it's actually on iPhone and Android phones now too. iOS and Android, I don't know, but I thought I heard that somewhere that they were being released for those platforms. So they played a bunch of that, and while they're playing songs, like while they're playing theme songs, they're also playing videos. Some of the videos are like live, just live performances, like clips of their performances from other concerts, and some of them are actual gameplay footage. Most of it is gameplay footage, but some of them will show like a clip of like the Video Games Live Orchestra in like Royal Albert Hall in England, for example, or whatever. Stuff like that. So it's really just such a cool experience. Like I said, I had no idea they were coming around, and I was just overjoyed. It was just really so cool. Super amazingly thoughtful for my girlfriend to get those tickets. And I couldn't think of like a better, what's the word? I couldn't think of like a better date to go on than for two, she plays video games, I play video games. For a gamer couple, I guess you'd call us. She doesn't play to the extent that I do. I play games every single day, whether I have 5 minutes or I have 5 hours. I always play something. GTA, the awful Bloodborne game, which is friggin' horrendous, by the way. That or Call of Duty or whatever. But I always try to play something every day. Even if it's something on my iPhone, I don't Tetris, for example, whatever. I play something every day. She plays like Kingdom Hearts, and she likes The Last of Us, which I love too, stuff like that. So we definitely are a gaming couple, I guess you'd call us. It's not the most important thing to us, but some nights when we're bored, we'll just sit on her couch or sit on my bed and just play games. So we had a great time. I thought, again, one of the most thoughtful gifts I've ever received. Super, super cool. Also, check out @Video Games Live on Twitter. Their whole schedule is up there. The website's linked to it. Just such a cool experience. There's clips of it, too. If you go to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/JoeyImage, I put one clip on there. It's in 4K video resolution, and I think it was of the Final Fantasy VII theme song. They did it at the end as they came out to do it as an encore, and then they ended up playing like 2 more songs after that. So it was cool, though. And I wish I remembered more stuff that they played, but I'm sure I'm going to hear this back, or I'm going to listen to it and then remember, like, shit, they played so-and-so, too. And they played this, and they played that. Oh, here's another one I forgot. I just remembered. They played a lot of Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross stuff. In fact, they did a medley of both games in, it was like an 8 or 9 minute song, or 8 or 9 minute aria, or whatever you call an orchestral piece of music. But it was really just an awesome time. Awesome time, awesome show, great event, and something that I highly recommend you check out if you get the chance. Now, on to the following weekend. That was January 2nd. Now, on to January 9th, which was the following Saturday, where my girlfriend and I went to TNA Impact Wrestling live at the Sands Casino in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, the Sands Event Center. Now, I know a lot of people bury TNA and shit all over it because the ratings aren't 800. They're not getting 8 million viewers every 8 minutes, and they're not 4,000 in the ratings department. They're not doing 4.0s or 5.0s, or they're not even doing 1.0s. But I have been to about 6 TNA events, live events, and they're always great live. I mean, I don't understand like what the deal is with their TV. I know when Vince Russo was writing their TV, a lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people shit all over it, said it sucked and it was weird and didn't make sense and blah blah. And then at the same time, Jeff Jarrett was writing the house shows, was doing creative for house shows, while Vince Russo was doing creative for TV, and the house shows were great. And that was back in, I think, 2009, 2010 maybe, and everyone was raving about the house shows. Back when they were doing Gut Check, and in fact, I went to one of the Gut Check tryouts in Rahway, New Jersey. I didn't do it because at the time I was on crutches, and I had just had my knee surgery probably a week, I think, beforehand, so I couldn't. I did plan on doing it, but it just didn't work out. I got hurt and blah, blah. But that was 2000, I think it was early 2010. And the shows were great live, and they continue to be great live. So I'm not sure why that greatness live doesn't translate to television. And again, you know, some people are going to listen to this and say, oh, you're an idiot, they suck, blah, blah, blah. And that's fine, you're entitled to your opinion. But remember, I'm entitled to mine, and this is my show. And, you know, speaking of that, speaking of people that say TNA sucks and WWE sucks. Same, like, and now I'm not talking about fans. I'm talking about workers, people in the business, people on the independents. Shane Helms brought up a really good point, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago on Twitter. And he said, you know, I see a lot of indie people that are bashing TNA or WWE or both. And he said, it's funny to me, and I laughed to myself because Grumpy Cat has had more time on TV than they have, yet these people are burying 2 companies that have been on TV for years. And Shane makes a amazing and correct point that people don't really think about that. Like, oh, this barbed wire Christmas tree, this sucks. Reverse Battle Royal, this sucks. And I understand that those may not be great ideas, but I mean, you know, when you're Mike Jones, for example, and you're sitting home at your house in Paramus, New Jersey, and you're not doing anything, and you're just working these little indie shows in front of 15, 20 people every week, you really don't have a right to say anything. And I agree with it. I fall into that category. I don't have a right to say anything either about TNA or WWE, and I usually don't. I try not to. Again, I understand with TNA sometimes it's hard. They are not as good as their roster would have you to believe they are. And again, it should be a lot better than it is. I don't understand. I don't know why. The story about people that ran WCW not knowing anything about the wrestling business and just treating it as like your average everyday television show almost seems like that's what's going on with TNA as far as TV. But they're like on television in like 90 countries or something like that. Some kind of like big number. And I think, and you know, so they're doing something right because they're still getting those deals, and they're still getting those sponsorships. So I don't really understand how. I mean, again, you know what? I've been out of wrestling for almost a year now. June 20th was my last match. Again, I mean, I've been doing behind-the-scenes stuff since then, but I've been kind of out of the quote-unquote show aspect of things, and I've been more in the business aspect of things for a while. So as far as the actual shows, I just don't know why they don't come across well on television, although I think they should. And again, I think live they're very good shows. And I've said my my crap about TNA in the past, and again, sometimes they just don't make sense. Sometimes you don't have any choice but to say something like, "Hey, who kidnapped Samoa Joe?" I have no idea. But he did that promo where he came out of the van and said, they're coming, and he was looking all crazy and nutty, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, he just shows up as if nothing happened, and it was never mentioned again. Things like that, they can't just drop a storyline like that. It looks bad on them, obviously. But anyway, enough about that. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about the actual event itself. Let me add one thing onto that. I will continue to defend TNA. I will continue to defend WWE because this is what I grew up on. I grew up on professional wrestling. Since 9 years old, I wanted to be a professional wrestler. When I was 23, I became just that. I did it for 15 years in ring. It's now been almost 1 year out of the ring. I'm over 16 years now since I first started training. My training began December 19th, 1999. So December 19th, 2015 was 16 years. And it's just like, I will continue to defend the business for as long as I live because it's what I love. It's what I'm passionate about. It's my first love. Put it that way. as many, relationships as I've had, and including my current one, pro wrestling is my first love. Of course, it's not more important than my current relationship. My girlfriend right now is the most important thing in the world to me, but that was my first thing I fell in love with was pro wrestling. And at a young age, I started watching at 3, and that's what I've always wanted to do. So because I've been in it for so long, and I still consider myself a wrestler. Yes, I'm retired, but people think that because you're retired, that means you're no longer a wrestler. No, I'm still a wrestler. I mean, just because I retired because of injury, or just because I retired for whatever reason, doesn't mean I'm suddenly not trained. My training doesn't go away, or my skill doesn't disappear, whatever skill I had, or what little skill I had. But it means I'm no longer active. That's all. So I'm still a wrestler. I'm just inactive. I prefer the term inactive because A, I don't want to admit that I'm no longer wrestling, and B, it's just true. I mean, again, like I said, just because I retired from wrestling doesn't mean I'm suddenly untrained or all my skill disappears. No, I'm still a wrestler. I'm just currently not active because of injury. So for me, that's a good enough reason. Anyway, back to the actual event. I didn't even know TNA was in town, which became a running quote-unquote gag or topic during the whole night that we were there Saturday. But apparently they were there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They did 5 nights straight of TV tapings for upcoming television. And there were people that live in that area that didn't know that they were there. And the sad thing is, it was such a good show. So, again, I don't understand why that won't translate to television, because the crowd was hot the night that I was there, and it was packed. There was maybe 10 or 11 empty seats, and they were all the way in the back in one section. It wasn't even like 10, empty seats scattered throughout the arena area. There was only maybe 10 or 12 seats, but they were in one section. So it wasn't like there was nobody there. A lot of people were like, oh yeah, they only drew 20 people or whatever. That's something I heard. They only drew 20 people the night before. But the night before was Friday night when they were on pay-per-view, and it was sold out. And I saw pictures. There was definitely more than 20 people there. And I realized whoever told me that was probably exaggerating, but it's ridiculous. And by the way, that person that told me that there was only 20 people the previous night, he paid for a ticket. So you're going to bury, you're shitting on the company for having a small crowd, but yet you're part of that crowd. So you obviously liked it enough to pay for a ticket to go. So I don't understand why you would, the company got your money. So who won now? You're out 50. The tickets the seats that my girlfriend and I sat in were $55 tickets. I don't know how much were my buddies that got them on Friday night for the pay-per-view. I think they were 25s, but still, you're out $25. You're $25 poorer. The company that you're making fun of is $25 richer on your dime, and you're like burying them. Like, dude, if you don't like it, don't go. Don't buy a ticket. I don't get it. Don't make no sense. But anyway, that's another story for another day. There's a lot of wrestling fans that don't make sense to me. But also another story for another day. Let's get back to the show. So I didn't know they were in town that week. My friend, I'm very close friends with someone who's on the TNA roster. They called me and said, hey, how about going to the show Saturday? I'm going to be in town. Maybe we can hang out. And I was like, hey, that's cool, man. Let me know what's up and what time and where and all that stuff, and we'll do it up. So I talked to my girl. She's like, hey, that's cool. I'd love to go. Never been to a live TNA show. My girlfriend's never been to a live wrestling show that wasn't an independent that I was involved with. So I want to take her to her first TNA show. I will eventually take her to her first WWE show. And, she enjoys it. So I figured, why not? Make it like a date night or whatever. We can hang out with my friend. We get some food. We'll watch the show. It'll be fun. So that's what we did. We got the tickets for... It was at Sands Casino in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which I have been to before a couple of times in the past. We were in Suite 9, which is they're essentially like box seats, but they're not in a room. Like if you go to, Yankee Stadium, for example, there's box seats. They're in like an enclosed room, glass room or whatever with a table, and there's usually like a bathroom there. There's a big catering table, stuff like that. This was sort of like that, but it didn't have the glass. It wasn't like an enclosed room. It was almost like balcony seating. So we were up in those seats. They were cool. You weren't even allowed up there unless you were part of the show or a worker or staff or some sort of VIP with a guest pass or something. So we had those tickets, and they were awesome. We even got employee parking. There was a lot right in front of the front door where On one side, like say you're sitting in this parking lot, you're facing the building. The box office is the first thing you see. There's entrance doors and the entrance/exit doors on the right, and then on the left is the doors where they go backstage, and the ring truck and production and all that stuff is over there. So in the lot that I'm talking about is the employee parking, which is all the workers and the rental cars. So we got there, everything was packed. We couldn't find anywhere to park. We ended up parking 2 parking lots over, which not very far, but in the shitty rain and, it was kind of cold, it kind of, it would have sucked had we had to have walked that far. But my friend called me and said, hey, where you parked? And I was like, oh, we're like 2 lots over. We're going to walk over there in a couple minutes. And they said, no, come on over, park, find me, and I will direct you where to park. So we got to park in the employee parking. I mean, we just literally got out of the car, took the barricades that were blocking off the employee section, I just moved them out of the way and parked, and then moved them back. It was great. So we did that. We parked. We went in. We got our tickets. We got our passes. The only one thing I thought was odd was that even though we had guest passes and free tickets, we still had to wait online. That was odd because everyone waited online to get in. But when we got there was already some people inside, so it was odd. But we got there. They let us in early. In fact, where we sat is where their catering was set up. So when we got there, there were like staff women that were saying like, oh, are they letting people in already? Because we're not done cleaning up. And they were letting people in, and they were still cleaning up. So they weren't letting people into the actual bottom arena area, like the regular seating around the ring or whatever. They weren't letting people in there yet. There was a line to get in there. But because we had the special reserve seating or whatever you called it, the box seating, the suites that we were in, you were able to go up there and go upstairs because there was bars and stuff, and the bars up there were open. Now, I didn't know until later in the night that the beers from that bar were actually free. I had no idea, and I was going downstairs all night getting Coors Lights and paying for them. I didn't actually know that until I came out of the men's room and passed by the bar, and there was a girl there, because most of the night there was nobody at those bars, which is a good marketing ploy, or a good, I should say, sales ploy, or non-sales ploy, if you don't want to actually give away the stuff that you promised for free. So that's how they did it. I guess they just didn't put a bartender there, and people didn't realize that bar was open. Anyway, long story short, got to watch the show. It was great. Got to hang out there. Saw a bunch of friends I haven't seen in so long. The first guy I ran into that knew me was Simon Diamond, a.k.a. Pat Kenny. A lot of people know him from ECW as Simon Diamond. He was also in TNA as Pat Kenny, Irish Pat Kenny. Got to see him. He was one of my trainers 1,000 years ago. He was there talking to some other guy whose name I forget, but I met at the show. And I walked right up to him and I said, Pat, do you remember me? And he stared at me for a second or two. He paused, and then he goes, oh, my God, Joey, how the hell are you, man? And so we talked for a good 5-10 minutes just about my injuries and about the business and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And got to see him. We sat down. We had a bunch of drinks. I periscoped, I guess, the first 20 minutes of the show. So if you saw my periscope, thanks for watching. If not, I'm sorry. So anyway, talked to him, talked to Rob Echoes, or Robbie E. He was there sitting. I mean, he was on the show, but then after his match, he came up and sat where we were in our booth, in our little suite thing or whatever. He was with a couple of friends, so I stopped and said hello to him. Watched the show again, saw a bunch of guys I knew that were doing ring crew / security. John Redbeard was there of the Extra guys. Dennis Reaper was there, another Pennsylvania independent wrestler. Dan Blazer was there from the Backbreakers Training Center in Scranton, New York. Scranton, New York? What the fuck? Scranton, Pennsylvania. I've wrestled in Scranton, in that area, a million times. I just called it New York. Jesus. Anyway, bunch of guys there I knew. Got to hang out with them. Got to say hello to them. Watch the show. Again, really good show. I think it was 2 weeks of TV that they filmed that night. So I don't know how long the new show is on Pop TV. I'm assuming it's 2 hours, but I don't even know if I get the network, so I really have no idea. But I think in the last 2 hours I'm sorry. I think the 2 hour event that we were at, which is probably about 2.5 with dark matches and stuff, I think that is going to be either 1 week or 2 weeks of television. I know sometimes they film out of order too, so I'm not sure what exactly we saw, but the whole show flowed, in order. It wasn't like it was, nothing weird happened or anything like that was out of order. So, I'm definitely going to be checking out TV for that. If I don't get it, I'll find a way to see it somehow, YouTube or whatever, I don't know. But I'll find a way. I think my girlfriend gets Pop TV, but whatever. went to the show, had a really good time, got to see who I spoke to, like I said, who I said earlier, Simon Diamond, Robbie E. was there, got to, bumped into the guys formerly of WrestlingClothesline.com, Joe and Brett, known those guys for a long time, actually got to see them there, bumped into Mike Trash, who I haven't seen. If you've never heard of Trash Talkin' Radio, he's been doing a wrestling-related show. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's been doing a podcast / radio show. He does it live on Tuesday nights, I believe. But he's been doing it for many years, probably 10 or 12 years, probably longer than that, actually. But it's not just wrestling-related. It's a lot of wrestling guests, but he does a lot more than just wrestling stuff. Really good show. I've been on that show, I think, twice. If not just once, but I think twice. Many years ago. Really, really good guy. Really good show. And the funny thing is, we were seated in Suite Section 9, and Mike Trash was seated in Suite Section 10. So he got his tickets also from someone he knows that works for TNA. So it was an awesome night, and we got to hang out with Mike and his girl. It was awesome. After the show, hung around a little bit, went and saw my friend. We went backstage for a while, hung out backstage a little bit, met James Storm, who I had actually never met before. Met Dave Lagana. Those of you that don't know who Dave Lagana is, he is a creative writer currently for TNA, formerly for Ring of Honor, formerly for WWE, and formerly for the television series Friends. So he was someone that I've always wanted to meet. We've known each other, quote unquote, online for years now. God, 6-7 years I would say. We've been talking on Twitter usually. In fact, if you people remember, I think it may have been 2011 or 12 when Undertaker made his return, and they had those vignettes where it was like a house in the rain, and it was black and white, and there was thunder and lightning, and it was like a dark. It might not even been a house. It might have been like a shack, and a lot of people thought it was going to be Sting, and it ended up being the Undertaker. Myself and Chris Decker did a parody of that in my apartment, and Dave, you can find it somewhere on my YouTube, I think. But Dave Lagana actually retweeted that many times, and he pushed the shit out of it, tweeted it and retweeted it, and made up his own new tweets about it, saying see lost outtake footage from the Undertaker's vignettes, something like filmed by Joey Image or whatever. I don't know, but he promoted a lot of that weird stuff that I did back then when I did those videos or that video. So he would tweet about it a lot. But we had never met, and I saw him, and I knew who he was. I mean, I know what he looks like. And I went right up, I was like, Dave Lagana. And he looks at me, and he goes, hey, buddy. I said, Joey Image, pleasure to meet you. He said, yep, I know who you are. He said, pleasure to meet you. Finally, it's been a very long time. And I was like, yeah, man, we've been, talking online for probably 6-7 years now. So it's very cool to finally meet you. Great show tonight and blah, blah, blah. And then we went our separate ways. He was in the middle of, they were just doing pre-tapes for television and stuff. So he didn't have a lot of time to talk, but he actually tweeted me a couple days later and said, I said to him, hey, man, it was really cool meeting you. And he said, yeah, you too. He said, I'm sorry I didn't have more time to hang out. So, that was cool. Got to meet him again. Got to meet James Storm. I got to see Billy Corgan and Bobby Roode. I didn't get to talk to them. They were both walking by me at the time. But we were backstage a little bit, hung out there, found my friend, left, went to Waffle House, got some damn good food. I love Waffle House. And then my friend went to the airport to fly back home, and my girl and I got in the car to drive back home, and it was a terrific, great night, man. We had a really good time. My girl had a great time. I had a great time. It was cool to meet a bunch of people that she had only seen on TV, but I had met before. But still, it was really cool to hang out and just see people and see a lot of people I haven't seen in a while. And I guess that's about it. I mean, I don't want to be abrupt, but we're coming up on about 40 minutes, 38 minutes. So I'm going to try to end this right here. I hope you all have enjoyed this episode, Video Games Live, TNA Impact Live. Again, next week, please check out my show next week. It will be my review of the movie The Old Boys, new wrestling documentary. You're going to dig it. Again, check out theoldboysmovie.com and Twitter @theoldboysmovie. Please check me out, and please, please, please follow me on Twitter @JoeyImage. I'm trying to hit 10,000. I've been trying to hit 10,000 followers for 3 years now. I'm still at 8,600. Please, I need 1,400 more. Can you help me out? Please help me out. Spread the word. Thanks. Tell your friends, please. Also, add me on Facebook if you want. Facebook.com/RealJoeyImage. You can check me out on iTunes, obviously, this podcast, That Image Guy, but I also put a version of this on my YouTube channel, just the audio with just a picture of me, nothing exciting. Also, please check me out at Instagram.com/JoeyImage. And one of the most important websites for me right now, ProWrestlingTees.com/JoeyImage. Go get yourself a shirt. They're all cheap. They're all $20. There's 6 designs. A couple more that are being added within the next month or two once I get the designs completed and sent over to them. Please check that out again. That's ProWrestlingTees.com/JoeyImage. At JoeyImage on Twitter, YouTube.com/JoeyImage, and Facebook.com/RealJoeyImage. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for checking me out. I will talk to you all soon. Have a good day. See ya.
This has been a presentation of the Three Ropes Media Network. For more, find us on Facebook at facebook.com/3ropes or visit us at 3ropes.com.
Hey, this is King Firehawk from 1640 PWPR, and we are making waves, kicking ass, and taking names later. That's right, 1640 PWPR is growing and growing and growing. But so many shows now in the family, yet we have room for more. Are you out there in podcast land, talented and ready to be seen and heard? Or are you an upstart looking for just your chance? Well, now you got a chance. Tweet us at 1640 PWPR or come on down to Facebook, facebook.com/1640 PWPR. Let us know what you're about, what you got going on, and maybe you, yes you, can end up on the home of Pro Wrestling Podcast, Radio, and more, 1640 PWPR.